world is fire and blood.
Hey, what's your name?
Hey everybody, welcome back to Review of the Nerds. I'm Vincent.
And I am Mike. And today, buckle your seatbelts, shift it into high gear, and pump up the nitro because we're about to get the adrenaline flowing with Mad Max
Fury Road.
Yeah. If you can't tell already by this incredibly unenthusiastic bastard right here, he represents the 2% of people in the world that didn't like it.
Listen, yes, I did not enjoy the film. I know whoever's watching this right now, you probably think I'm insane, or stupid, or just
mad.
flat. Or mad. Well, I am mad because somebody keeps giving me crap all the time. Anyway.
Soon the internet will give you crap too, so
Yeah, well, you know what, go ahead. If you guys don't get every fine. If you guys enjoyed this film, I'm glad you enjoyed this film, because that's what films should be. They should be entertaining. This one did not. I have my reasons, we'll get into them. So, let's just get into how we do the show. So, first thing we usually do is, I give a quick little plot synopsis. But as far as I'm concerned, this film doesn't have a fucking plot. So I'm going to let Mike handle it. You tell him what the plot is.
For one thing, for all you Mad Max fans out there, this is the return of a character who's been gone for about 30 years. Mel Gibson started off playing the role. This guy lost his family in the wastelands of a world that became dried up on fuel, and he's mad, and he's disconnected from humanity. He's lost... Don't do that.
What?
That's too damn
What? I'm already
disrespectful.
bored again. Continue.
Are you a nerd or not? This is like Nerd 101.
Don't you question my nerdhood.
This is like Nerd 101.
Finish your plot. Synopsis, whatever you're doing.
Anyways, this is a man who's lost his soul. He's lost all his connection to humanity, and we saw him go through the Road Warrior, where pretty much he still didn't really regain his humanity. He just kind of wanted to take revenge on the guys because they killed his dog, and these people gave him a way to do it. This is the movie where Max finally has to face his demons. He has to face the people that he's let down and find his humanity, and he does that through Furiosa and her journey to trying to rescue a group of women from this cult leader, Morton Joe, and they have this race across the desert wastelands, and everyone kind of rediscovers their redemption and humanity by the end of the film. It's one giant ride, one giant chase, and I think it's a fun ride, and I think 98% of people probably think so too.
He's not bringing up the friggin' statistics. 98% of people.
It's the highest rated action film that I think has come out in a long time. Critics love this film. Now, I'm sounding overly enthusiastic because I'm trying to make up for the fact that this negative bastard here is so unenthusiastic. It's not perfect. I'm not going to say it's perfect. No. I mean, it has its issues, but I think it's a much better film than Vincent's giving it credit for. It's a mindless action movie. It's just like a throwback to the 80s, 70s action films. I mean, there's a lot of movies like this back then. I don't know why this bastard can't recognize that. But it's not like it's completely devoid of anything involving character or story. There's stuff going on. I mean, there's a theme throughout the whole thing about redemption. And they even have,
I thought the theme was run.
To some extent, but at the same time, it's a fun movie. You just have to turn your head off, have fun. You don't always need to have an intricate plot. Look at The Rock.
I'm not asking for Shawshank Redemption level.
All right, look at The Rock. Does that have a huge plot? No, but it's a great fun movie. It doesn't really matter. And the thing is that we were discussing this last night. George Miller is a guy that operates primarily with visual poetry. As a matter of fact, one critic said that this movie is beautiful chaos, which I'll agree with. It is gorgeous. It looks beautiful. But at the same time, he still finds a way to instill little bits of philosophical ideas and stuff like that. I mean, like, I was trying to tell this guy, but he doesn't see it. Obviously, this whole thing is a commentary on fanaticism cults and for cult leaders. Because they did a movie with Elizabeth Olsen called Martha, Marcy, Mary, May, whatever the hell it's called. He calls it Triple M or whatever. Basically, though, that movie was about a group of girls that were taken when they were still teenagers, and they were brainwashed into thinking that this was, this guy was like a deity or something like that, and he was basically there to take away their virginity and impregnate them to make his own version of what he thinks would be the perfect human race. That's what's happening here, is that this guy has gained control over the most important supplies that this world has, which is water. And then he also has a trade route with another town that has gasoline, another town that makes weapons and armory. So this guy basically has control over all the primary resources the wasteland needs, and through that, he's able to manipulate the people and keep them at desperate levels for his supplies, and because of that, yeah, he brainwashed them to think that he's some kind of deity, he's some kind of god to be worshipped. And he has this whole army of people that he is keeping very malnutritioned, and they even need blood transfusions, some of them, to stay alive. And these people believe that if they do this guy's bidding, they will be...
You were giving this villain far too much credit.
This is in the movie. It's there. That's the thing.
He's a poor villain.
Is that he thinks that these things need to be hammered for it to be substantial.
I'm not asking for a hammer. I'm asking. Listen, I'm not asking for a super intricate plot like The Dark Knight or Shawshank Redemption, something like that. I'm just saying, I saw the trailer film knowing it was going to be an action film, and I love action films, I really do. And yes, I'm not expecting intricate plots. I'm saying simple but noticeable and enjoyable plots. This movie had no plot. Well, I posted on Facebook that I did not like this film, that I found it very boring.
You do realize I've just been going on for the last 5 minutes about plot.
Yes, and I totally disagree with you.
It's there. It's there. It's completely there.
What I said? I posted it on my Facebook, and I had that one friend, and I had multiple friends comment on my post and tell me that I was wrong. But I had that one friend that I knew sooner or later she was going to show up. She put a comment on and said, "How can you not like it? It's just one long car action chase scene." I'm like, yes, because that's exactly it. It's a 2-hour-long car chase scene.
I have been going on for 5 minutes. I haven't even gotten to the chase scenes yet.
But that's all it is. You are putting way too... You are making
it's there. It's all there.
It's there. It's sprinkles. It's like if you imagine if I had a cookie. Imagine I have we'll say an M&M cookie. Imagine I have an M&M cookie. All right, and this cookie represents a good, solid movie plot. Not an intricate one, but at least a solid, simple movie plot. And you break off one little piece with an M&M or two in it, and then you crush it and throw it out.
You have to forgive him, everybody. He needs to be spoon-fed plot details.
I don't need spoon-fed. Listen, all the stuff he says is there. It's there, but it's all in crumbles. It's crumbles. It's little stuff.
I don't think they need to waste time with it. It's just an
But
action
then why
film.
put so much in there?
Because it's there. It's there to look at and to think about. It's there. It's just that they don't have to hammer it in. Anyways,
It's just there. Boom, there it is. He's a cult leader. Boom, there it is. He has water. Boom, he's like, I didn't even know they were trade routes. They glossed over it.
They said that.
They glossed over everything so quickly. It's all glossed. Like, here's this, gloss it. Here's that, gloss it.
All right, Vincent, if it's so hard to get, then why did I get it?
Because it's just glossed.
But why do I get it so much and you didn't?
I don't know why you're remembering everything, considering there's tons of stuff and it's just all glossed over. I don't care. To me, it's all super vague. It was all super vague. You get it that he's working with certain people and they give him stuff, but why? Why are they all working together?
Because they all have something to trade with each other, obviously. It's cooperation through necessity. This kind of shit's been going on in human history since the beginning. In this army that he is brainwashed and he's keeping controlled through malnutrition, and they need these blood transfusions, they even have growing tumors on them, like Nicholas Hoult, who is kind of like the comedic relief character. He has these 2 tumors in his shoulder that he calls his mates. I forget what names he gave them. But he needs Max to give him blood transfusions, and that's how Max gets pulled into this whole thing, is that this guy wants to be escorted to Valhalla, which is their version of heaven, by Morton Joe, and he's made them believe that if they die serving him, that they will go to this heaven. So that is, again, the brainwashing thing that goes on with this cult. So Furiosa tries to get these brides away from this guy because they're pregnant. Some of them are pregnant, some of them he's attempting to impregnate, and she's trying to rescue them because she herself was captured from her village when she was a child, and she herself was forced into Morton Joe's clutches, and she wants to save these girls from whatever she's been through. You see, she's missing an arm. I don't know. There's no backstory they give on the arm, but I'm assuming that she was put through some shit. So she has a personal connection and reason for redemption because she's done some shitty and shady things under Morton Joe's command. So we're now in this huge race through this desert wasteland, and there is so much gorgeous fucking action sequences. It is beautiful. And the one thing that I will complain about, because I'm going to start forgetting the things I want to complain about, because this motherfucker is so negative, it's making me forget about the negatives. One thing I'll say is that Tom Hardy is a fucking fantastic Max choice. He really is, just like Christian Bale's a fantastic Batman choice. Ideally, they should work. Now, there's a problem in the choice with the voice. And I don't know if this is a decision that was made on set or post, because we both have recognized there's a lot of ADR work going on with Max.
Yeah, Tom Hardy will talk in his Mad Max voice, but it doesn't match up perfectly. Like, this happens in movies sometimes. Like, they'll shoot a scene and later they'll have the guy in a sound booth, like, reading lines over again, and they'll dub it over because something didn't match up because with the location or the sound or whatever issue. And with this one, it's like, I like his Mad Max voice, but if it doesn't match up with his mouth, it's very disturbing. It takes me out. It makes me, like, weird.
I think it was a little too Batman-like. Like, if you saw the previous Max movies, Max didn't talk like that. He didn't have, like, a Batman voice. Like, he's like, Pocahontas. No, wait, you, Pocahontas.
Yeah.
All right, like, let's do the...
It wasn't as marbly as, like, the Christian Bale Batman voice, so it was, like, a little more... It's more like Rorschach-y.
So I'm going to do his opening narration. You go ahead and try to mouth it. This is kind of what it's like.
My name is Max. My world is blood and fire.
Yeah, it just doesn't match up. But visually, Tom Hardy does a great job, and once you get past the midway point, for whatever reason, the ADR stops being necessary. I don't know if it's because he had that mask on his face, but even after he takes the mask off, you notice it a little bit. I don't really know what issues they had. Yeah. So that's one of my issues.
Yeah. I will give the movie this. The casting. I mean, you got Tom Hardy, you got
Charlize
Theron, which we're about to get
even
into.
bald, she looks gorgeous.
Yeah, and we got Nicholas Hoult as Nux, who I guess you can call him the comic relief, like you said. Once again.
What's a lovely day? What a lovely day!
I guess I'm supposed to laugh. I don't know. They're all good actors, and they do good. I'll give the movie that. Most of the casting I didn't have an issue with. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
Go on. Help the movie.
Yeah, well, with the cast, Charlize Theron, the only complaint I have with her is that while she's probably the one that drives the story the most and everything, I'm not seeing this for her. I'm seeing this for Max. And it's not called Mad Furiosa. It's called Mad Max. I want more Max. And she really was such a driving force in the movie that I felt she distracted sometimes from Max. But their relationship, they kind of form, I think in time it endears me to her more because she is kind of what kind of pulls him back to trying to rediscover his humanity because he sees through this really damaged, tortured person that she is so desperate to save these girls that there's a piece of him that gets reawakened that he thought had died a long time ago. So that relationship is kind of what makes it work. And Charlize Theron does a really good job. Nicholas Hoult, there's some issues with his arc. I will give you that. Because he does start off really, really brainwashed and really, really convinced that he must fucking serve Immortan Joe and die to go to Valhalla. That's his only goal and motivation to begin the movies. He wants to go to Valhalla. He's dying already. He's dying of cancer and whatever else. He wants to go to Valhalla. And there is definitely a fast transition from that to him deciding to help these people. But yes. What I will argue...
Pretty girl, now I want to help you.
What I will argue, though, is that when he realized that he had failed his god and that he was forsaken and that his god would not escort him to Valhalla and that he was going to go to their version of hell, at that point he had nothing left to lose. And he had this girl that basically gave him kindness and compassion, and for the first time in his life, probably, I don't think he ever felt someone give him compassion. He's lived a hard life until now.
Yeah, but I mean, you were talking earlier about how much this movie goes into like how cults can be, and when you've been in a cult your entire life,
there's people, there's cult members that actually try to escape.
I know, I've seen Dateline, goddammit, I've seen Dateline, okay? But the thing is, you just don't snap that quickly. I mean, it would make more sense if he like pretended to be on their side and then like turned on them at the last second to try to like gain like his pride back for his like cult leader dude. You just don't all of a sudden like, oh well, you're very pretty and you're a redhead.
But it's already too late. It's already too late though. He was already somewhat responsible for.
That doesn't mean you're going to be all nice to the people that fucked up your chances of getting to Valhalla.
I think it was. I agree to some extent. To some extent, I agree. But I do also understand that he probably never ever had a woman's touch or a compassion or a sympathy in his whole life. And, you know, she came to him at a vulnerable moment when his god...
He's not even necessary at any point in that. He does, all he is just one more person driving the rig when you got, like, 5 other people who can drive the damn thing. He really is not necessary in the film.
No, actually, they made it clear that there's only so many people who know how to operate it. They even said that, like, because the girls couldn't operate, Charlize Theron told Max how to do it, so there's only 3 people who know how to operate. There's Charlize Theron, Max, and then there's him.
Wow, that made all the difference.
Well, the story was a story about transition, redemption. It's about people that have done fucked up things, and then throughout the course of the movie, they rediscover humanity in some way. He just was another aspect of that, and also he was a comedic relief. People liked him. He's crazy, and everyone knows that the most quoted line I hear from this movie is "Where did they die? Where did they die?" And that's what everyone quotes. It's even on the poster for the movie. So I just, he was a likable character. I think actually I wouldn't be surprised if the first draft he didn't go over, and that the director just liked Nicholas Holt's performance so much he was like, you know what? People are gonna love this guy. Let's bring him up.
Let's give him some more unnecessary time in the movie. Yeah,
I like Nicholas Hoult though. I really did like his performance.
I like him too, but damn, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And there's so much. All right, anyone who's a fan of The Road Warrior, there is so much to love about this movie for hardcore fans. There's more zany stuff in this movie. So much crazy shit. Like there's this one. It's so unnecessary. There's this fucking band like playing on one of the vehicles that's driving. They have this guy with a flaming guitar, and there's one point in the movie that's so funny where they're waiting in the desert for the Furiosa to reemerge, and he just falls asleep in his harness, and his only purpose is just to jump forward and play that guitar. It's just so outlandish crazy. And actually, this is one of the things I think that why Vince doesn't really appreciate this movie. He did not see the original Mad Max movies as a child. He did not grow up watching The Road Warrior. He's never even seen it to this day. Now, I grew up with The Road Warrior. I saw it when I was a child. I saw it all through my... As a matter of fact, they even showed it in film school. So I'm very familiar with this stuff. I went into this movie totally ready for the zaniness, totally ready for how crazy it was going to be, for how mad it was going to be. Now, him, I don't know. I think if you saw it when you were younger, you would have appreciated it.
I'm going to discount your theory that just because I didn't see the original, it throws it all off. No. Okay, listen. This is like the first Mad Max or Road Warrior film, whatever you want to call the franchise, in what? You said 20. I think it's actually been more like 30 years.
Probably.
More than 30 years, okay? So as far as I'm concerned, even though this movie is apparently set in the same universe, it's distance from that. So a moviegoer like me, who didn't watch the original films, and, this is their first introduction to the Mad Max universe, I shouldn't have to have an emotional attachment to the original film.
Oh, no, that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant.
Well, that's how you're coming off.
Oh, no, that's not what I meant. I just meant that this movie's a throwback to that same style. And that no movies are being made like this anymore with this type of, the craziness, the zaniness that's in this movie. We're living in a Dark Knight culture right now. Everybody wants to go dark. Everybody wants it to be really serious. This movie goes just nuts. It's nuts. And it goes very much so back in line with what they did back then. What I'm saying is that I went into this movie totally prepared for how crazy it was going to be because I'm familiar with what this guy did.
I've seen crazy films before. Escape from New York, another 80s cult classic. I like that film a ton.
All right, well, that's a good point then. But still, I mean, it's just, I don't know. If you're a fan of the original Mad Max movies, you're in for a treat as far as I'm concerned. And even if you're not a fan, I do not think you need to have seen the original films. You could tell already in the movie that Max lost somebody. He's haunted by this little girl who even calls him Pa at one point. You know it was his daughter. You see a flash of her being run over by vehicles. You know that he lost somebody. That's all you need to know from the original movies. You don't need to know anything else. That's it. So this is completely standalone, but if you've seen the original films, this will just enhance it, and it will be a welcome return to those for you. Anyways, alright, so we're kind of sprinkling in stuff all over the place. I think you cannot talk about the visuals without talking about the director. I think that goes hand in hand. George Miller is just a visual storyteller. He's got beautiful cinematography. They actually used a cinematographer that was retired. They brought him out of retirement after, I think, years of being out of the business. Just the simplest shots. Like, there's one shot where Charlize Theron falls to her knees when she realizes that one of the goals she had isn't going to be attainable, and she screams in the sky, and the sand is like being sucked past her towards the camera. And it just looks beautiful.
I'll give you guys that. The cinematography was pretty good in this film. Especially at the beginning where they first captured Max and he's going through this fevered, nightmarish running around.
That was cool, yeah.
I will give him that.
The flashes
I will not shit on the cinematography. I won't shit on the cinematography.
And even beyond the visual effects, the scene with the sandstorm, oh my god! Like when they're driving through that sandstorm, it's like this monster fucking sandstorm. It looked gorgeous. And then when they're going through it, when it picks up that one vehicle and explodes and the fire gets twisted and twirled inside the storm and gets flung back at Max.
That was cool. My only problem is that they show you a lot of that in the trailer, especially the explosion and the fire swirling. So I think that kind of numbed it for me when I finally saw it.
Slightly, but it's still gorgeous.
Yeah, I know, but I already know it's coming. So it's like when it finally comes, I already know what's going to happen.
And the practical effects. I mean, this is such a return to practical effects, which there's some directors that still try to do that. Like Sam Mendes with the new James Bond movies, he's very practical effects heavy. Chris Nolan is as well. But this is a master of practical effects.
This is another thing that, once again, I will not shit on, because as much as I love CGI, and as much as CGI has allowed many dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of movies over the year to do stuff that they couldn't before and allow them to take things to a bigger level, I miss practical effects. We use so much CGI that I can spot the CGI so easily anymore. So whenever anybody gets practical effects heavy, I give them all the respect in the world. So I will totally dig this because when I see those cars crashing, I know those are actually cars crashing. It really adds that realism to it. Whereas, like, I see like a spaceship crash into like a moon or something, I'm like, well, that's just a computer image, you know?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I will say this: it is visual poetry. The way that the carnage and the chaos is organized, the way they choreographed it, the way they shot it, it's just beautiful. It just couldn't look better. I even like the color grading. I even like the color choices they used. Everything looks great. So in terms of visuals, there's absolutely, I don't think I have a single complaint. I can't think of anything. I can understand why Vincent has a couple issues. The movie is not perfect. It has problems. We've already addressed some bad ADR. There could have been a little bit more clear character development. It's there, but it could have...
more clear to character development.
I think it's there. It's just that it could have been enhanced. I would have liked to have seen a lot more Max. In the next film, I really hope it's more Max heavy. But I still feel like there's enough there where the movie works. I do agree that next time they need to maybe do a little bit more. I feel like this is a great first bat, off the bat, this is a first good origin movie to reinitiate the series. But a little bit more on establishing a few things. I mean, the thing is, though, is that one of the things about Max, and he's always been this character, he's always been the stranger that like in the Wild West movies, he walks into the town, you don't know anything about him usually, and he gets involved in whatever's going on in the town, and then at the end of the adventure, he saves the day, and then he walks off in the sunset. You need that in a Max movie. You still need him to kind of serve that stranger role, but I do want to see more of him in a sequel. That's the one thing I really want. And they're already talking about a sequel. This movie's been critically hailed. It's, minus this guy, people generally love this movie. I just got a job at a movie theater recently. He works in a movie theater too. You hear the people coming out of the theater, they're laughing, they're giggling, they're quoting lines from the movie. I work at the bar at the theater that I work at, so I have people coming up to get beers after the movie, and they're just overly enthusiastic, and you can just see how much of a fun time they had. This movie is a giant roller coaster ride.
I know, just me. I mean, it was when the movie had already been out a few days by the time I saw it. I had that plenty of customers coming out saying they loved it. It was great. Even had a few of my coworkers see it, said, it was great, it was awesome, And actually, for the first time yesterday, I had one customer come out of it and be like, I liked it. I don't know why I liked it, but I liked it. I was like, oh God, it's so close to getting somebody who understands me. It was funny. We were talking when the first time we got together and talked about this because we actually saw it separately. We were hanging out, and our one friend who she saw it with Mike. She liked it, but she told me she understood why I didn't like it. So
yeah, I can say I understand. I like it, though. I understand your reasons. Oh, we had another friend, though, and this is funny. Because we had a friend that was very enthusiastic about how much he loved it. He was like, that movie was fucking awesome! And I was like, Vincent didn't like it. He's like, fuck Vincent! I think, Vincent, you need to go online, make a meetup organization for the 2% of people that don't like this movie. You guys need to all get together.
Yeah, I'll call it me, my brother, and that one random guy at the theater.
But here's the thing, okay? If you see this movie, which, by the way, I highly recommend you do, just keep in mind that it's an action movie. It's not going to be The Dark Knight. It's not going to be filled with subtext.
I knew it wasn't going to be The Dark Knight.
It's not a modern-day action movie. It is much more just a fun roller coaster. It is an amusement park ride. And you're going to have tons of fun as long as you take it like that. It's a really fun film. I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the sequel.
Okay, I just want to read my points one more time. As far as I'm concerned, the movie really had no plot. Character development was pretty piss poor. The development was underdevelopment. Like you get just the basic of ideas of what these characters are and their motivations. The basics, like nothing really to chew on. That's my problems. People, like I said, my one friend said, "Oh, how can you not love it? It's just a 2-hour-long car action chasing." That's it. It was like it's 2 hours of them chasing around on the same fucking rig the whole time. I mean, seriously. I
felt like an adventure.
I know I'm the minority of minorities here, and I know a lot of people, whoever's watching this, are screaming at me like, you idiot, you fool, you dumbass, how can you not love this, blah, 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 blah. And once again, if you like this movie, then good, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I didn't. I found it boring. I did not feel one jolt of excitement, except for maybe at the very end, because I saw this movie in 3D, and I will give this movie this. It's one of the first 3D movies I have personally seen in a long time where something actually jumped out of the screen at you. Alright?
And this guy is the moviegoer Grinch over here, isn't he? He's got a heart that's 3 sizes too small. There's something dead inside you, Vincent. I think that's what we've established.
I should have stayed home and watched Waterworld on Netflix.
Another thing to mention here is that George Miller stated that the reason why the dialogue is minimal and why the plot isn't really that heavy with details is because he was trying to treat the movie as though it was a silent film. He wanted to rely primarily on the visuals to establish the plot. So because of this intentional creative choice, plus I think the plot is there if you really look for it, I really respect the choice. If it was an accident and there wasn't things layered in there, then I'd be more critical, but I think it works the way it is. I really, really liked it, so hey, give it a shot. And you know what? You might be that 2% out there, and hey, if you are 2%, I'm sure Vincent would love some support. Go ahead and comment and support this guy, because he's feeling kind of lonely. You know, but hey, if you loved it, I'll also love to hear from you guys. I would love to hear some comments talking about how you enjoyed it.
Whatever you guys got to say, leave it in the comment box. We'll definitely respond back to anything we can. Hey, if you like this video, click like, and hey, if you really like this, click subscribe and help us spread the nerd word.
Well, wrapping up, I'm Mike.
And I'm sadly Vincent.
And this was Review of the Nerds. You're not going to do it with me? He's not going to do it with me because
Review the Nerds.
Review the Nerds, yeah.
Fuck this thing.
Well, let me die!